What if the entire world of One Piece, every sea, every island, every journey, has been building toward a single world-changing event, the fall of the Red Line, the destruction of the barrier that divides the oceans, and the rebirth of the true world that existed before the Void Century? This isn't just another theory. It's the endgame map Oda's been hinting at since Chapter 1, because when the Red Line falls, everything we know about the world of One Piece, the Grand Line, the All Blue, even the ancient weapons, will finally make sense. But to understand why the Red Line must fall, we have to go back to the beginning, to the moment the world itself was divided. Before we talk about the Red Line falling, we need to understand what it really is, because this isn't just a mountain range. It's a scar across the planet, the wound that never healed after the greatest war in history. The Red Line stretches across the entire world, looping from pole to pole, unbroken and unnatural. It's the one thing that doesn't fit the chaotic, unpredictable geography of the One Piece world. Every island, every current, every storm seems to bend around it, as if the planet itself was reshaped to accommodate its existence. And that's the first clue. The Red Line may not be a natural formation at all. It could be the result of a weaponized event, a man-made act of terraforming during the Void Century. In the modern world, it serves a purpose that's both obvious and invisible: control. Because the Red Line doesn't just divide oceans, it divides people, resources, and cultures. Think about it. The seas are split into four disconnected regions: east, west, north, and south blue, each isolated by both the Red Line and the Grand Line's chaos. Travel between them is nearly impossible without permission from the world government or the Navy. That's not geography, that's policy. And sitting at the very top of that division is Marie Joie, home of the Celestial Dragons. They live literally above the world, looking down on the chaos they maintain. The Red Line isn't just their fortress, it's their throne. Every layer of the world's hierarchy is built upon it, from the nobles who rule to the slaves who live beneath its shadow. This is no coincidence. The Red Line's geography is a mirror of the world's social structure, an artificial wall meant to separate those who rule from those who dream. Now let's go back, way back, to before the world was split. According to fragments of poneglyphs and ancient records, the world may have once been connected. One vast, unified ocean dotted with islands, not divided by barriers. Some scholars even speculate the ancient kingdom had technology capable of manipulating the seas themselves. When that civilization failed during the Void Century, the victors might have reshaped the planet as part of their new order. The Red Line, then, could be their greatest monument or their greatest cover-up. So when we look at the Red Line today, we're not just seeing a mountain, we're seeing the evidence of victory. A victory that buried its history, rewrote the map, and quite possibly changed the shape of the planet itself. And that raises a chilling question. If the Red Line was created to hide the truth of the world, what happens when it finally falls? To answer that, we have to look beneath the surface, to the world under the waves, where Joy Boy's broken promise and the prophecy of destruction first began. Deep beneath the Red Line lies Fishman Island, the only known civilization living directly under the world's greatest wall. It's not just a home for the fishmen, it's a time capsule of history and the literal center of the world's secrets. Joy Boy's apology to the mermaid princess, carved into the poneglyph found there, is one of the most mysterious relics in One Piece. It's the only known record of someone from the ancient kingdom speaking directly to the future. And he wasn't just saying sorry for breaking a promise. He was apologizing for a dream that couldn't be fulfilled, bringing Fishman Island to the surface. That dream was symbolic. It was geological. The reason Fishman Island can't rise is because it's trapped under the Red Line, buried beneath the very structure that divides the seas. And that tells us something crucial. Joy Boy's promise wasn't just about equality between species, it was about tearing down the barrier that keeps the world apart, literally. The ship Noah, described as the Ark of Promise, was designed for that mission. Its size isn't random. It's large enough to carry an entire civilization. And when the Sea Kings say, when the time comes, we'll need the help of the king who can command us, they're talking about Poseidon. But what if Poseidon, the ability to communicate with the Sea Kings, isn't meant for destruction, but transportation? What if the Sea Kings aren't weapons, but movers of history? Imagine a moment when the prophecy comes true. The Sea Kings lifting the Noah to the surface, carrying Fishman Island to the light, and symbolically fulfilling Joy Boy's dream. That act would only be possible if the red line no longer exists. This is where the prophecy of the dawn of the world begins to make sense. The red line has always represented separation of races, of seas, of truth. Its destruction will be the unification of everything, a literal return to the one piece, a single connected ocean. And it's not just prophecy. The signs have been there all along. The ancient weapons, Pluton, Poseidon, and Uranus, are all linked to the control and reshaping of the world itself. Pluton, the ship said to destroy islands, could just as easily destroy a continent. Uranus, often theorized as a sky-based weapon, could manipulate the climate or tectonics of the planet. And Poseidon commands the creatures that inhabit the seas, perhaps to protect those who will emerge once the red line collapses. If these weapons were created by the ancient kingdom to counter the control of the 20 kingdoms, then the red line's existence might be their greatest failure or the enemy's greatest success. And now, after 800 years, the cycle could be coming full circle. Because if the One Piece truly is the key to uniting the world, not metaphorically, but literally, then the moment the red line falls will mark the rebirth of the planet and the end of the current world order. When Oda builds a mystery, he hides it in plain sight. And the red line, this impossible wall cutting the world into four seas, has always been the most unnatural thing in One Piece. Let's look deeper. In the real world, Earth was once home to a supercontinent called Pangaea. It eventually broke apart, giving us the continents we know today. In One Piece, the opposite seems true. The seas were separated by force. A single towering wall now divides the globe. The name of the celestial dragon capital, Pangaea Castle, isn't a coincidence. It's a clue. The same name used for the United World before it was split apart. Oda could have chosen any name for the world government's seat of power, but he chose Pangaea. That implies their rule sits atop the very wound that divided the planet. Now think about what that means. The red line is both the foundation of their power and their greatest vulnerability. The celestial dragons live directly on top of the symbol of separation, and if that wall falls, their entire domino falls with it. This mirrors real world mythology. In nearly every ancient culture, from the Bible's Great Flood to Mesopotamia and Greek legends, there's a story of the gods punishing or cleansing humanity through the sea. But there's also always a survivor, a Noah, an ark, a promise to rebuild a world united once again. Sound familiar? Joy Boy's apology on the poneglyph mirrors that archetype. He failed to fulfill a divine promise to bring salvation to those beneath the sea, and the Noah, literally an ark, sits waiting for its true moment of purpose. The Sea Kings themselves called it the Ship of Promise. From a mythological perspective, this is genius storytelling. Oda isn't just crafting a private adventure, he's writing a modern epic of renewal, one that mirrors the flood myths of humanity's oldest civilizations. In those stories, divine destruction always leads to rebirth. Water cleanses the world of corruption, and the survivors rebuild in harmony. If we map that pattern onto One Piece, the red line becomes the final floodgate. Once destroyed, the seas merge, races unite, and the world literally returns to its one piece. One ocean, one people. For centuries, the red line has stood as the ultimate symbol of division, a scar carved into the earth. But what if that scar wasn't natural at all? What if the world government didn't just build its empire on top of the red line, but actually created it as part of their original sin? Let's piece it together. During the Void Century, an ancient, highly advanced kingdom ruled the seas. They had technology capable of altering the planet itself, and the three ancient weapons were its masterpieces. But when the 20 nations united to destroy that kingdom, something catastrophic happened. Uranus, the sky weapon, may have been unleashed to shatter the old world map. It didn't just destroy civilizations, it reshaped the entire planet. The red line was the aftermath, a massive tectonic upheaval, a wall of earth driven up from the seafloor to seal off the world's freedom forever. And atop that wall, the victors built Pangaea Castle, the throne of their new order. The name wasn't just poetic, it was a declaration. We are the gods who reformed the world. We decided who lives above and who stays below. But in doing so, they created the very imbalance that would doom them. The seas were split, the fishmen were exiled to the depths, islands became prisons of geography, and centuries of slavery and hierarchy followed, all because one wall kept the world apart. Now fast forward to today, the age of Luffy. Every major clue in One Piece points toward the world's return to unity. Fishman Island's prophecy that the one who will destroy the island will be the one who brings the dawn. The Sea King's mysterious comment that two sovereigns shall meet again, and Joy Boy's ancient promise to those beneath the waves, a promise to bring them back to surface, into the light. To fulfill that promise, the red line must fall. And here's where it gets wild. Each ancient weapon plays a role in this final event. Pluton, the weapon capable of reshaping the seas, buried beneath Wano, a country that literally sits atop massive ancient barriers. When Wano's walls open up, it may unleash the energy needed to crack the red line from below. Poseidon, Shiroshi, the mermaid princess who can command the Sea Kings. Her power could summon the ocean's greatest forces to aid in the destruction or salvation of the surface world. Uranus, still a mystery, but likely a weapon of the sky, possibly tied to Imu. If Imu uses Uranus to maintain control of the red line structure, then Luffy will have to destroy or overpower it. And who better than Luffy? The man whose power literally bends the laws of nature. Luffy's Gear 5 isn't just about strength, it's about freedom, creativity, and reality itself. His awakening could represent the return of the sun, the rebirth of Joy Boy's will. That power, combined with three ancient weapons, could finally bring down the wall that divided the seas. It will fulfill every prophecy we've heard: the dawn of the world, the reunion of the races, the breaking of the world order itself. Imagine the moment: the red line collapsing into the ocean, continents shifting, the sky filled with sea kings as Noah sails to the surface, Marie Joie sinks into the sea, the celestial dragons lose their throne, and the world for the first time in 800 years becomes whole again. That's the true meaning of One Piece. Not a treasure of gold, but a planet restored to its natural state, one ocean, one people, one world finally united under the Dawn Joy Boy promise. So if this really is Oda's Endgame, what happens next? Because if the red line falls, everything from the geography to the balance of power will change forever. When the red line falls, it won't just be the end of the wall. It will be the end of an era, the death of the world as we know it. Imagine it. The seas that were once divided into four quadrants, east, west, north, and south, now merge into a single boundless ocean. The Grand Line, once a cursed and chaotic belt, becomes the equator of a reborn world. The calm belt disappears as the seas equalize, and for the first time in 800 years, the planet breathes freely again. But it's not just geography that changes, it's civilization itself. The fishmen, long condemned to the depths, rise to the surface. They finally see the sunlight they were promised by Joy Boy centuries ago. The Noah, the ship that was meant to carry them to the new world, now becomes the Ark of Rebirth, bridging the gap between races. And as the Sea Kings emerge to calm the chaos of the oceans, the surface world must confront the truth. Everything the celestial dragons built, their power, their divine status, their control, was nothing but an illusion propped up by fear and division. With Marie Joie gone, the world government collapses under the weight of its own lies. But here's the twist. The fall of the red line doesn't just destroy tyranny, it also releases chaos. Islands once protected by geography are suddenly exposed. Entire nations must migrate or rebuild as ocean currents shift. The climate stabilizes in some places and goes wild in others. The world is free, but it's also fragile. And in that chaos, a new order must rise. This is where Luffy's true legacy begins. Because unlike Roger, who reached the end and laughed, Luffy's role isn't to find the treasure, it's to reshape the world. He's the one who literally breaks the walls between people, races, and nations. In the story's final act, his dream of freedom becomes something far greater than personal. It becomes planetary. Freedom from oppression, freedom from hierarchy, freedom from the false gods who stood above the clouds. And here's the most beautiful part. Every Straw Hat's dream finds closure in this moment. Nami's map of the world is finally complete, not as a set of divided seas, but as one true whole planet. Robin's search for the true history is vindicated as the world finally learns the truth of the Void Century. Frankie's dream of building a ship that sails anywhere becomes reality because now anywhere truly exists. Sanji's dream of finding the all blue is fulfilled. The oceans merge, creating a literal sea of all life. Jinbei's dream of coexistence is realized. Fishmen and humans share the same sunlight. Zoro's dream of becoming the greatest swordsman ends with the world free enough for rivals to rise again. Usopp's dream of being a brave warrior comes true because he fought for a world worth believing in. And as the dust settles, the meaning of One Piece finally becomes clear. It's not about wealth, it's about wholeness. One world, one ocean, one humanity, finally united under the sun. The fall of the red line won't just end the old world, it will fulfill the promise of the ancient one. The dream that Joy Boy started and Luffy finished. The day the red line falls will be the day the world is reborn. At its heart, One Piece was never just a story about pirates or treasure. It was about walls and what it takes to tear them down. The red line isn't just a continent, it's the symbol of everything that separates the world. Rich from poor, nobles from commoners, humans from fishmen, truth from lies. Its fall represents the collapse of those invisible walls we build to control and divide each other. The Void Century, the Ancient Kingdom, and Joy Boy's legacy were all pointing towards the same idea, that unity is the ultimate treasure. That the true One Piece isn't a chest of gold, but the wholeness of the world itself. A planet restored to what it once was before war, greed, and gods carved it into pieces. When Luffy and his crew reach Laugh Tale, they won't just find history, they'll find purpose. They'll discover that Joy Boy wasn't a man chasing freedom for himself, he was fighting for freedom for everyone. And that's the beauty of One Piece, because every Straw Hat's dream, from Sanji's all blue to Nami's world map, was never selfish. Each of them in their own way dreamed of connection, of bringing the world together. That's what the Ancient Kingdom stood for. That's why it was erased, and that's why its spirit lives on through the Straw Hats, because they're rebuilding piece by piece what was lost 800 years ago. When the red line falls, it's not just geography changing, it's destiny completing. The story comes full circle. The age of exploration ends, the age of connection begins. The world finally becomes one piece. And maybe that's why Roger laughed. Because when he saw the truth, he realized that treasure wasn't something he could take. It was something he could only leave behind for the one destined to finish it. A new generation that wouldn't just discover the world, they united. So now the question is, when that wall finally falls, what will the world look like? A paradise rebuilt or chaos reborn? Let me know what you think. Will Luffy's final act unite the seas or unleash something the world isn't ready for? Drop your theory in the comments. I'll read them all. If you love deep diving into the mysteries of One Piece, from the Void Century to the world's end, hit that subscribe button and join the crew, because the closer we get to Laugh Tale, the clearer the truth becomes.